Pressed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Double Novak.
Good morning. Yes, you have the Novak duo.
Good morning.
What a treat. What are we talking about today, Lisa and Mark Novak?
Go for it, Novak.
The cliff. The cliff. Everyone's wondering, and I think everyone's actually forgotten that there was meant to be this whopper, huge, scary, we are screwed cliff in September. It all just went by the wayside, or it all just happened. The government did its extensions, the banks did its extensions. And then what did the same cynicists say? Oh, now the cliff is going to be in March. You watch March. We're screwed in March. March, we're going to be stuffed. And there's a lot of information coming through now that we wanted to talk about, and we wanted to be really pragmatic about it. It's easy to be positive.
Oh, without a doubt, because we're on the ground, we're in property, so it is easy to be positive. But I'm always saying to my clients, people ask us all day, every day, is now a good time to sell, right? That's always a big question that we're asked. And I'm always saying to clients, I would tell you if it wasn't. I would say to you, just what I have told clients. I've said, you know what, guys, just wait. Things are likely to improve. Just hold it if you can. But what's interesting was yesterday on the news, I heard that 45% of people that had frozen their home loans during COVID are now paying back their loans again.
They're back to normal.
Is that
5%?
Is that a voluntary contribution, or have they been forced into doing it?
No, the banks did say that you could ask for an extension. I had a family friend actually a couple of people contact me. In particular, I'll talk about a family friend, and they said, "What do you reckon?" And I said, "Look," because they're offshore, and they're saying, "Look, do you reckon we could wing it and ask for it?" They didn't particularly need it as much. They could have survived without it.
Yeah.
And they said, "Look, we're stuffed. If they're going to ask a lot of questions, we're really stuffed, because then we've got offshore income now."
Yeah.
And I said, it's a free question. It's a free hit, and ask and see how you go, and build up their stash of cash.
So if 45% of people have started paying back early, essentially, without being forced into doing that, does that mean people are a bit more cashed up at the moment than we thought?
Well, have people been, look, there's been, the government's been very forthcoming with giving cash handouts, right? Because of JobKeeper, JobSeeker. I mean, as we were moving into COVID, I think everyone was incredibly surprised when the government started handing out this money, free money. And some people are earning more money than what they were earning before. We understand that there's people that are not. We understand that.
Yeah.
But today we're talking about the fact that more people are paying back their home loans sooner and unfreezing the option that they took to freeze their home loans sooner than expected. There was also another comment that was made on the news, and that was that the country financially could very well be in a better position than what was anticipated. These are great figures. These are awesome figures. We decided to take a little drive this morning and have breakfast here in Double Bay, actually. And I've got to say, walking around here, James, it's interesting to see how many shops are actually open and running. I was hugely surprised. Weren't we, Mark? We were really surprised to see that there's a lot of shops here that are open, running. A lot of shops that have got signs in the windows that are saying, "We have moved across the road." Yeah. So, one thing that we noted was, a lot of these shops have moved from maybe these backstreet positions and taken up these prime positions here. Interesting.
Northern Beaches, we noticed the same. Like in the DY, in our leasing, with what you're heading up in leasing in commercial, James, there was a lot of churn. Not much burn, but a lot of churn.
What does that mean?
So the companies weren't going bankrupt. They weren't going under. They weren't being gone to garbage bins. They were just churning out of one property into another property, bigger, smaller, just churning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nicely.
It's really interesting. And, as we head closer and closer to March, I would suggest, this is my opinion, that we're going to glide through it just like we did through September.
Yeah.
I can't imagine for a moment that the government, given how generous they've been with everything, I can't for a moment imagine that they're just going to pull the rug from under everyone and say, right, guys, we've done enough and now you're on your own.
I think what a lot of pessimists, James, have not considered is that these people who have frozen their mortgages for 6 months, people who have frozen their mortgages for the next 6 months, have not paid for accommodation for 12 months. They have not paid for, they've lived for free, not technically not because they've put it onto the end of the loan, but but you could cash flow wise over the year, these guys have lived accommodation, $0 for free. What the hell have they done with their money? I'll tell you what they've done. They haven't gone and put it through a casino. They've actually done responsible things in responsible times.
Yep.
They've put it to the side and they've got it ready for if it gets really rainy.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Mark. I really do, because obviously we're not traveling. If you walk in and try and buy yourself a new car, you can't get one.
Yeah.
You can't get one. It's quite interesting. So a lot of people are, I think I agree with you, Mark. I think they're stashing away money for a rainy day to see what happens there. So, but really interesting statistic there for those of you guys that have just tuned in. We're talking about something that was reported in the news yesterday, stating that 45% of people that had frozen their home loans are now paying them back sooner than anticipated. So huge stats, right? And then the additional 55%, well, we were just talking about it before, Mark, and we were just saying, some of those people will still be speaking with their lenders saying, just please continue to help us. Some of those people will start to pay them back as well. Some of those people might get the help of family and friends, and maybe some of those people are going to sell up property. But I don't think that we're going to see this enormous influx of property, urgent sales coming to the market, like what people are talking about. I mean, we transact a lot of property, right, at Novak, a lot of property.
Oh my God, so much.
So much property.
It's incredible how much we sell.
I haven't, for me personally, I've not dealt with one vendor that has to sell urgently for financial reasons.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with a couple of vendors at the moment that want to sell urgently because they want to move further north, but not because they have to sell for financial reasons, not one.
Not from strain.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, this 45% of people, it's almost like their preparedness for what's been happening has built up and up and up, and they're being quite realistic and logical about how to go about things. And they might as well get started now while they feel like they've got this cash flow. And then come March next year, it won't be such a shock to the system when all of a sudden it all opens back up again and they have to start going back 100%. So I don't know what your take is on that.
A lot of people I think we just got to remember that a lot of people have been through some financial hardship and the banks have been there to support them by freezing their loans.
And the government.
But I think at the end of the day, a lot of people have just done it as a precautionary measure. Now, if they've done it as a precautionary measure in those uncertain times 6 months ago, I think that they've stashed the cash. They've stashed the cash. Now, if they've stashed the cash, fortunately, if you listen to what the government was saying about people spending, the wealthier people are, the more they save, the poorer, the less fortunate people are more bad with their money. So anyone who has stashed the cash, I think you'll find the more advanced people have actually saved it, and I think you'll find the naughty people have gone and bought jet skis and boats. But you know what I mean? Like but still stash some cash, like you wouldn't have spent. But now it's coming back to normal. Now it's coming back to normal at a 2% or 2.5% or 3% interest rate. It's not coming. Right. It's not normalising out at 10% interest rates like it has been for 20 or 30 years. So it's pretty good times, guys. And summing up and rolling into what we're going to conclude now, let's talk about the cliff.
Yeah. So for me, again, this is just my opinion. I think it's just going to come and go. I know there's people that are going to be sitting out there going, "What? That's impossible. It's impossible." But you know, we're out, as I said, dealing with a lot of people in a lot of different situations, and I'm actually yet to come across anyone so far in my journey of dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. And that's all over the northern beaches and the eastern suburbs that actually have been in a position where they have to sell where things are that dire. So I don't know that situation for them is going to change much between October and March. As I said, I think, a lot of these people that I'm talking to are not in that situation. I think it's just going to come and go.
Well, I think the reality is, James, it's cheaper to own than it is to rent. So what are you going to do? You can't pay your mortgage. Well, guess what? You're not going to be able to pay your rent either because it's cheaper to pay your mortgage. I want to say g'day to Anmal, g'day to Effie. Lesio is saying most of the banks are letting deferrals for another 3 months. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we go back to that example I was talking about before with an offshore buddy of mine, the banks pretty much didn't ask many questions at all when they did ask for a deferral. So, yeah, those people that are on deferrals for 6 months to get an extension for another 3 months, not that hard. Maybe simply good business to actually defer it and pay it later. I know interest rate only loans are very popular with investors. This is effectively an interest only loan plugged up,
Yeah. I don't think the problem's going to be actually getting an extension of that deferral. I don't think that's the issue for people. What I do think is the issue is when they do go to apply for another loan somewhere down the line, I think that's where they're going to hit a wall. I think the banks will, quite happily and generously give people extensions should they need them. But then when people come to get a loan, I worry that there's going to be a big black cross against their name,
Yeah. James, we've been thinking a lot, Lisa and I. What do you think?
I think it's great to have you both on the show this morning. I'm learning lots, and it's great to find out. I'm interested by what's going to happen come March. As I've sort of been in the same position as what you said, Lisa, I haven't noticed that people have been in the dire need to sell at the moment. So actually, for the most part, people are seeming to be in a little bit of a better position than we ever thought from the beginning of COVID even to now. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting one where a lot of people are certainly feeling like they've got a little bit more cash in their pockets, but it's whether or not that feeling sort of sustains until the end of this saga, and how we come out when JobKeeper and all of these payments do end. I don't know. I would love to know what your thoughts were on that.
Look, I think at the end of the day, what people are, I think, I know we're thinking a lot, but the bottom line, guys and girls, is we're an agency of on the northern beaches of Sydney. We've got 50 staff. We're dealing with so many landlords, so many tenants, commercial,
we are dealing with a lot of people,
so many buyers, so many sellers. So we've got a bit of a barometer or a bit of litmus test on what we're seeing out there. And that's what we're reporting. So I think people can read the sensationalized newspaper and accept that. I think, you can listen to your positive real estate agents, and they'll tell you what they're seeing on the street. But we are biased. Well, one, we're on the northern beaches and eastern suburbs of Sydney, and two, we're always very positive. So we're not. But that's what we're genuinely seeing.
I don't know that we are biased, Mark, because if things are bad, we'll report they're bad. If things are good, we'll report that they're good. But I think it's also important to point out that Northern Beaches always has been quite insular. It's always been the less unaffected area of
sheltered.
Okay, now we were speaking to a friend of ours who's got a real estate agency in the western suburbs. Now he reports the polar opposite. Okay. Then I was talking to a girlfriend of mine who's in real estate here in the eastern suburbs. And I was like, what's going on? She said the property market is ridiculously through the roof. And she said that the rental market is an absolute disaster. So they've got so many rental properties on the market. You can pick up a 2-bedroom apartment in the eastern suburbs for a similar price to what you can pick up a 2-bedroom apartment in Dee Why. So, you know, we're reporting what we see here on the Northern Beaches, and that is generally very, very positive. In fact, I think it's probably more positive at the moment than it has been in a really long time. We've got an influx of people moving in.
I'm scared to disagree. The passion over here almost blew me over.
Listen, any husband that disagrees with his wife is a fool anyway. Is a fool. Hey, can I just say one thing? We've got to wrap up, but can I just say one thing? Anmol was asking about something that I did yesterday that was super cool. It was a first in the industry. Yeah. I was doing a talk to a real estate agents in New Zealand, not by Zoom, by hologram. So I was in a film studio with Tom Panos, and we looked as though we were sitting on a stage in New Zealand talking to thousands and thousands of agents. Yep. So it was super cool, really interesting technology.
It's very cool. So I've got a similar thing at home. I've got a statue of myself in the middle of our bedroom, and not a hologram, but a statue, and it's very effective. Very effective.
Is that for all those
statues?
Like the statue of David, but it's the statue of Mark.
I recommend it to anyone to get a statue made of themselves, or
like in Rio de Janeiro, the Jesus statue of Mark.
With any leftover cash. All right, guys, we're out of here.
And just before we finish off, Luke Moroney reckons that's sexy. Yes, it is. And Mole, so those applications are being assessed. Banks are freezing mortgages. Yes, they are. Tom Panos, great. Yeah, that's it. So no, guys, very interesting, guys. And I think, you know what, it's a very common topic that we're talking about, but it is very, very, very spoken about and in the back of everyone's mind. Yeah. And to share people's comments today, to share your thoughts, James, Lisa's mind, from what we're seeing out there from buyers and sellers and tenants and landlords, it's very interesting.
Can I just say no one's talking about Christmas?
Christmas is just going to go.
No one's mentioned it.
I heard a Christmas song on the radio yesterday, and it just doesn't feel right. It's been a negative year for the most part, and all of a sudden they're trying to bring Jingle Bells in. Doesn't seem right at all.
Bring on Jingle Bells is what I say. Bring it on.
Bring on the positivity.
Bring on the sun, the positiveness, the festive season, Christmas. Bring it on. You're right.
Oh yeah, we deserve it.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas to the world. All right. Great to have you both on this morning. Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Anmal. Thanks, Lucio. Thanks, Effie. Say bye.
Bye.